Happy Easter, everybody. My good friend and yours, the amazing John Keister, stopped by for this weekend's episode of Not Your Mother's Podcast. We got into some great subject matter that I'm thrilled we were able to cover and bring to you. We talked about empathy, self-love, how many likes is your life worth, ironically, and of course we got into the area of being gay and also being a Christian, which I feel like is a very, there's a very narrow spectrum there, and I feel like there are a lot of people that can really benefit. In fact, I don't feel like, I know that you're going to benefit from the resources John offers and all the help that he gives forth in this podcast. So, if any of those things interest you, and most of them should, please check out this episode of Not Your Mother's Podcast. My name's Stuart. It's my friend John, and this, John wants to say hello.
Hello.
And this is the Not Your Mother's Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
I don't want to spit this out. All right. This podcast, this episode, is going to get into some pretty fun, deep places.
Very deep.
Super deep. So deep. And so we're going to start it with the ceremonial burning of a chick tract. I hate these fucking things. Me and my sister have talked about them, and she doesn't mind me saying so. These things are... You've read these, yes?
Yeah.
They're super fucking scary.
They are. It's like...
They're always made... Like this one, it says, somebody angry.
Right.
Like, it's scary shit.
Right. I remember that, I think a really special moment was that, my sister had a slumber party, and had all these girls over.
John's done.
And don't light our fucking house on fire. Do you have a smoke alarm?
Oh, it's gonna go off.
Oh my god! Like, fuck, don't blow it all over the place. Oh my god! Oh, it stinks. It smells so bad.
It smells like hell. This is a terrible idea.
No, but we were like, my sister had a slumber party, and the girls all watched the Left Behind movies, which is like people's heads getting chopped off and shit. And
God, this smells terrible.
The parents were so pissed. Oh fuck! Oh my god! Thank God you don't have sprinklers.
I know.
Oh my god. No, don't reset. That was amazing. Keep going. Keep coming.
I'm gonna air it out.
You're gonna air it out?
Yes.
Oh my god. Don't let that footage go.
Oh no, that's staying. That's here to stay.
There's enough black ink in that shit to like,
dude,
like
I did
print
not
a Bible.
I did not think it was gonna smoke that bad.
That
was a terrible idea.
Right? That was a lot of smoke. You'd think it would go up a little bit faster or something like that, but I guess it was kind of like burning the phone book. Because it's like all the pages were stuck together or something like that, right? You're like,
and we're back.
We're back, yo.
So that was
we're still alive.
Hell yeah. That was a lot.
I felt like that was a Titanic. Go ahead, say what you're
No,
saying.
you're good. No, you're good. That was way more smoke than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I will definitely be drawing my sister's attention to this podcast and letting her know, keep cutting them up, don't burn them.
Yes.
Unless you're in a very non-wooded public place.
Or on a cruise.
But yeah, there's plenty of water.
Yeah.
That went south terrifically quick. So did you I don't think you finished your story. You were telling something about a chick tract. Do you recall your story?
I was telling about how we were talking about how chick tracts get a little scary at times.
They are scary.
Because they're meant to like put you on the brink so that way you'll like make a decision, thing.
Do you know there?
So,
I read, so before I destroyed that in a spectacular fashion.
Yes.
I read that. Do you know they're printed in Ontario, which is right here.
Oh really?
Ontario,
California?
yeah, Ontario's right here.
Wow. There you go.
So
they're right down the road.
Yeah,
There should be lots in the bathroom near you.
I'm sure there is.
So
there must be.
I was just saying how that like in the mode of scaring kids half of their mind, that my sister had a slumber party with all the girls in her class, and then they watched the Left Behind movies where all the people got their heads chopped off.
Now, were they the Kurt Cameron Left Behind movies, or the ones before that?
No, the 70s ones that
Dude,
were
those
like...
ones were scary.
Really scary.
Jeff Fahey. He's He's the good guy. He's the bad. He's in every single one of those.
Okay.
Dude. And Jeff Fahey is in all of them.
Okay.
He's the Beast sometimes. Sometimes he's Jesus. You never know what he's gonna be, but he's always in them.
He's
It's just a
always in
weird caveat to
Yeah.
it. I don't know why.
It was so weird, but all
Those
these
are
girls'
intense movies.
parents were pissed
For
that
real?
they watched it at the Slumby party. From what I heard, that
That's
their parents
awesome.
were pissed because these
I love
girls
it.
came home and they were like
Scared
freaked
as
out of
fuck.
their freaking mind, you know?
Yeah.
I remember going to sleep when I was like 14 after I even watched those and stuff like that. And I was just scared
Fuck
to
with you.
death. You
Absolutely.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was what it was intended
Right,
to
right.
do. It did its job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those. I'm trying to remember titles. Because they had funky titles. Because they were like Revelation titles. It was like the 700 Horsemen or some shit.
The
Like,
7 dragon heads of toast. Or something, I don't know. It was
definitely
like,
toast.
Yeah, right.
I have no doubt of that.
Right.
The rest of it, I don't know.
It
But
was
the
just
toast,
weird,
for
but
sure. Yeah,
anyways.
it was very strange.
Yes.
So, we're going to talk about something that is, it's not a taboo subject at all. But if you're inside Christianity, it can be. And if you're inside the IFB or if you're coming from that place, this can be a very taboo subject for no good reason. But my friend John is gay, which is fucking amazing because he's being his own self. He's not being a fake. He's not pretending he's something he's not. But I want to talk to you about that subject and the fact that, again, I can't speak from personal experience. I can speak from personally condemning people that were gay when I was inside that religion. But I would say that as a young adult, as a teenager, and then even probably in college, wouldn't you say that that was something you just had to kind of shove down and say, find some way, not to reconcile it even, but just to say, no, it's not true, or that's not really who I am. How did that, I guess, sorry to interrupt, but how did that play out for you, and how was that something that you, because you didn't, this is my opinion, right? As I haven't had to deal with it, but, deal with the oppression and the stupidity that people just can't understand it. How did you kind of find your way, your peace or your reconciliation for that, and just kind of like, to not identify yourself that way and find a way to say that's not what you are? Am I making any sense right now?
So I think what you're saying is, I'm trying to repeat back what you're asking is that how did I repress being gay?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. In the construct.
I think that
because you're not allowed to be gay. It's just like it's not real, right? Like you're not really gay. That's just something wrong with you.
Right. Because the whole premise in the religious circle that we grew up in was that you identified as who you are at church or at who the person that other people see, and that person who you actually are is an alternative person that we don't really know and we don't get to see because you're never that person around us.
Right.
If that makes sense
You're a
at
fake.
all.
You're a fake.
So, but you're not ever allowed to be authentic in who you are all the time, of like however broken or messed up, is that you have to whatever personality you're portraying at church, that's kind of just like who you put on in a way, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
You're suppressing who and what you are because those are moments of infraction, or you did a wrong thing. So I was only gay when I was never gay.
Yeah.
I was just having a moment of a gay activity.
Right. Which is a sin, and then you confess it. Is that
it or whatever?
Yeah.
And then you're all good. But the thing is that being gay, the definition of being gay, in my knowledge, is having a desire to want to have sexual relationship or an intimate, a deeper, further than just being best friends.
Homies,
relationship,
a dating relationship
with another
member
of the same
gender.
sex, exactly. So the thing is that that's one of the reasons why me and my ex-wife, that program didn't work out, because you had two people going into it thinking that, he's just having a moment of being gay.
Yeah, that's not really his identity.
That's not his identity.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll love me enough to not do those things. But the thing is, the person that has that attraction still has that attraction.
Yeah.
That attraction just doesn't go away. And here's a premise to this also. If God wants to change gay people, then God will change those gay people whenever God is ready to change that gay person.
Thank you.
That's like that. This is what I explained it to somebody that I love very much. Liz talked to me about this, and I explained it this way: that it's just like your food taste. You taste strawberry jelly, and you stick it in your mouth, and regardless of whether we made a law against that it's good or bad or not, we can say that you can go to jail for 90 years if you put strawberry jelly in your mouth. But if you taste strawberry jelly and you like strawberry jelly, that like for strawberry jelly is not going to go away.
It's not going to dissipate.
Or dissipate. You could just not eat strawberry jelly, but the like and the desire to have strawberry jelly will still be there. And I can't
it'll drive you crazy.
Right. But I can't change you to not like strawberry jelly.
Yeah.
We can say things, we can create, but the thing is that the fact is that your taste buds, this is the deeper thing here. We're going to get deep for just a minute here.
Fuck yeah.
You don't get to decide inside of you that your body likes strawberry jelly.
Exactly.
You stick strawberry jelly in your mouth,
and your body
says, "I like that," or "That's
I hate it.
effing disgusting." You put that cherry, gross medicine flavor shit in my mouth. It is gross.
Yes, that's nasty shit.
I hate it. Some people are like, give me the cherry.
I love it.
They want that cherry in their mouth right now because
Yeah.
they love the heck out of it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with desire. The desire is something that God puts in your body that you don't get to program yourself and say, hey, I like this or don't like this. And sometimes, sometimes people drink coffee for the first time and they're like, oh, gross.
Yeah.
But then they drink it and they acquire taste.
Like this whiskey that I'm drinking.
So tastes are acquired. I get that, and I get that you can control your behavior, you cannot control your behavior, and I get that your desires can change over the course of your life.
Let me ask you this.
What's that?
Why be miserable? And I don't mean like, look, if there's some screws loose and like you just love killing animals and you want to transition into people, okay, you need to get some help. Okay, that's it. I'm not saying all desire is okay and acceptable and needs to be embraced. Right. If it's causing harm to someone else, there's something wrong. Right. So I want to make that caveat. But I also want to say, if it's not hurting anyone and it's not causing
consenting
harm,
adults that are like fine with each other's skin touching, then that's okay.
And it doesn't even have to be sexual. It can just be if there's something that you like that's not causing anyone harm.
Right.
Why would you want to not do that thing?
Right. If two adults want to hold hands with each other,
oh God,
then
it's okay.
It's gonna be all right. We're gonna make it through.
We'll survive.
I can't believe two adults want to hold hands with each other.
God.
Right?
But that's what I guess I'm just trying to make it on a smaller scale, or maybe a straight scale. Fuck, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I look at I listen to what you're saying, and I say, okay, that can be applied because you're applying it to jelly, right? I can apply it to so many things that I enjoy doing.
Exactly.
And just say, like, I like, my eyes are burning too. It's smoky in here, man. That was a terrible idea.
We're on the mezzanine with all the homeless people, right?
100% we're on the mezzanine. Absolutely.
On the mezzanine with
it's
the homeless
rough
people,
in there.
Like,
it was hot.
Somebody hand me that blanket.
Please. No, that smells worse. Trust me. Right. But again, with any desire, not how can you or why would you? Because so many of us have done it in so many different ways, whether it's for religion or to make parents happy or because societal norms dictate it. But why would you want to live your life with a desire for something and not be able to desire for something that, again, isn't harmful, that you enjoy?
Right.
And you just, and you can't embrace it and you can't be that? Like, that just sounds awful.
Right. It's a real struggle, and I agree.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really tough, and
well,
it's
how hard. So it's tough. Like, I mean, it's awful, right? But inside Christianity, it's so. I wouldn't say Christianity across the board, but where we're coming from, IFB, it's so wrong that it's almost not possible. I mean, this is my perspective, so correct me by all means. So wrong that it's not possible in that you're not really gay, or you don't really love the same gender. There's just something wrong. It's not really a thing. Right. So that gets explained away so much. Am I correct?
Yeah, there's not even like it's like you put it like there's not even a name for it almost. Or like it's just it's not something that exists.
Because if you're gay, you gotta go. Like, you can't still be their son, or, again, no offense,
yeah.
their son, their daughter, whoever. You can't be a member of the church. You can't lead the singing, play the piano, be a pastor. Like, you can't do any of those things.
Right, you're just
so you
not
must
allowed
just
to.
not be gay.
Right. And it was interesting, like, I was talking to you earlier about the, about families that I know their kids, but I never knew the gay son. Because the gay
tell me
son
about that.
is just totally marked out. Like, you don't talk about it.
It's like next level black sheep shit.
Exactly. Like, but you just don't, you just don't know that person even exists, even though you might have been around this other person for years and years and years. Just the fact that they have a gay brother or a gay son or a gay sister or something like that, it's totally just X'd out. And then, like,
so is that a result of them embracing that and saying, look, coming out and saying, look, I'm gay, and this is how I'm going to live my life. And then, not just excommunication, but just wiping them away. Is that kind of what happens?
Right, because let's dive into the psychology of this real quick.
Yes.
Is because everybody starts. There's 4 steps to our human behavior, in my opinion. I've kind of created these things, and this is a basic things. So number 1 is we create a story of how we think our life or our trajectory or whatever we want to happen in a certain circumstance.
Yeah.
So we create a story, number 1. Number 2, we either look like we're in control of the story, we are in control of the story, or we are not in control of the story. Okay. So and then number 3, we either feel good or bad about looking in control or not being in control.
Right.
And then number 4 is we act out. So in this 4-step process, number 1 is that their story is not. You create a story. So most people have this in their mind that their story, they're supposed to have this perfect life. At church, you're not supposed to be gay. You're supposed to have all this perfect stuff.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, your brother, your sister, or your family, or somebody comes out as gay,
that fucks up your story.
Yeah, or has an abortion, or like gets
any
drunk,
number of
has
things,
an accident, gets pregnant in high school.
Yeah.
This affects your story now. Your story, the way you planned your story. Now, number 2, you may not be in control. You're not in control of the fact that your brother or sister got pregnant in high school. Right. You're not in control that your brother or sister is gay.
Yeah.
You're not in control of it. So therefore, you when you feel good about it, like sometimes how many times have you fallen on the ground and then everyone in the class laughs about it and you're okay with it and you think it's funny, but then on the time that you fall on the ground, everyone in the class laughs about it and you feel bad about it, oh, you are fucking pissed. It is fireworks session.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Yep.
Piss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you feel bad about something after you don't feel like you're in control, then you act out. And that's
it's
what
an
happens.
anomaly that you just didn't prepare for.
Right.
And so instead of, I mean, again, as a child it would be difficult, but instead of like being an adult or trying to be, using your brain about it, you're just like, no, I'm just going to lose my shit.
Right, exactly. And that's what happens. And so many people in the IFB situation are they're having other people impact their story. And when their story is impacted, they therefore have to, because it's like I said, you either are in control, you're not in control, or you don't look like you're in control. Right. And for men, that is a huge deal right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of men, and even a lot of women have problems with that too, is not looking like you're in control of your story, not feeling good about it. Because when you feel good about it, you're fine, you don't care. But when you feel bad about it, you go
now it's
off
time to go
the
nuts.
rails,
Yeah.
you cut and you run, and that's why you have families completely separating from each other, because all it comes back to is the fake story that you made up in your head
it's not fitting.
It's just different than what you thought it was going to be. And so because the story just looks different than what you made up,
you lose it. And I think that, I mean, again, we're going to talk about being gay and Christianity and how things align and or don't align. Definitely what we're talking about right now. But I think that speaks to so much of a bigger picture as well. Like, just understanding, I get being a child or even a teenager or even a young adult and not understanding, like, hey, life just isn't going to go it's just not going to go as planned.
Not at all.
That is not how it works. Like, I get being a young adult and having difficulty wrapping your head around that. Sometimes it happens to me at 32 years old and I still get fucking frustrated. So I get getting frustrated. But then deciding to throw everything out because it didn't go your way like a fucking child. Like, no, come on, you got to grow up. Like, again, it's bigger picture.
Right.
Life's not going to go as planned.
Right.
Can you prepare for that? You can prepare your brain for it, I think, in some ways. But financially, can you prepare for it? Maybe. If you're Warren fucking Buffett, that's great, you know? Terrific.
Right.
But I just, what you're saying speaks to, I think, again, so many bigger picture items in our lives where we have to, again, it doesn't mean like, Jesus, take the wheel, just let go and let go was one of my favorite phrases. My dad would joke about that. Like, we'd be driving, and he'd let go and let go. I'm like, Dad, no, put your hands, again, it was all, exactly, it was all in good fun.
Right.
But that really is, at some point, you just have to say, look, I'm going to do my thing and live my life, and again, not to be chaotic about it, and I'm not saying don't pay your bills, like I don't pay mine sometimes. Like, I'm just saying, I think you've got to allow for the fact that life is going to throw you some curves that you don't like.
Right.
Even people in the public eye, it happens too often. You know, actors, actresses, Major League Baseball players, and all kinds of sports players. Like, you'll see things, whether it's cancer and a family member, or like a car accident or something like that. Like, life is going to throw some shit at you that you're not going to like, and it's about how you react to it.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to get away from the subject matter here, but I feel like there's a
broader lesson.
A huge application to be made.
Right.
That whether you're gay or not, whether you have a gay family member or not, whether you've had an abortion, whether you've been in jail, like, whatever it is, life didn't treat you how you wanted. The narrative is not what you wanted.
Right.
You've got to pick up your shit and move.
Right.
You got to keep going.
Exactly.
It's life.
Exactly.
You keep going or you don't.
Right.
That's one or the other.
Right. And then the whole thing, that what it comes down to is like the base at the very base level of this whole thing about story creation in our lives, because it all comes down to your story creation. At the very base level of its self-worth, and people's value is, people keep getting their value from external sources instead of having their value come from inside of who they are. So a good example of this is, let me just ask you this: is there's a let's just talk about the Olympics real quick.
Yeah.
The Olympic ice skater David Rippon, is it Adam Rippon or David Rippon?
Dude, I have not watched the Olympics.
His last name is Rippon. His Instagram following a couple weeks ago was 300,000 people, right?
And now?
But it's still that.
Okay.
I don't know what it is right now. It's probably higher.
Gotcha.
But then also there's another skier guy, and his following is 800,000 people. So, is the ice skater that has 300,000 people, is he supposed to feel more valuable, less valuable, or the same value as the skier who has 800,000 followers? What's your answer?
So I do social media for a living.
Okay.
So if I'm him and I have the 300 as opposed to the 800,
okay,
I'm gonna have trouble feeling as valuable. Mm-hmm.
So this is okay. So so the point of my question.
I'm fine with being wrong about that.
No, you're fine.
It's not really
right,
correct.
But that's a good answer though to throw out there though, because most people look at their lives this way, and they come to their value because they're seeking value from an external source.
Yeah. There you go. That's a perfect example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're seeking value, or whoever it is, not just you. I'm saying you're seeking value from an external source. Then you feel as though you're less valuable. Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's turn it around now. If you are the skier and you have 800,000 followers, and the ice skater has 300,000 followers, is the skier supposed to feel more valuable than the ice skater? Is he supposed to feel less valuable, or is he supposed to have the same value as the ice skater?
Me personally, if I'm the skier, I feel like I have the same value.
Okay.
I know that doesn't add up, right? But
so
I feel like I have the same value.
This is so interesting.
Okay, good.
Because I literally had this conversation yesterday with somebody else.
It, dude.
And he had the same exact answers.
No
and
shit.
It's so interesting
That's
to
crazy.
me. And I think the reason why that when you come to the situation with empathy, you change how you perceive your world.
That's so good, dude. Dude,
So-
that is a beautiful quote. When you come to a situation with empathy, you change how you
see your world.
Dude, it's so true. That's so true.
When you are the ice skater person, you come with empathy to the other person. You're like, well, I'm no better than the other person, But when you come as the ice skater that only has 300,000 followers, you look at the other person, you're like, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. But when you're the higher person, you come and look at it because we all have the empathy inside of us.
We've been there.
You come with empathy to the situation. You're like, oh, that person's not any less than, and I'm not more than they are. We're of the same value. But when you look at it from below and you're sitting here thinking like, oh, that person is so much up there, you instantly block them and say that they're more than and that I'm less than. Instead of that you're the same.
Dude, it's such an important distinction to make.
You just did it though. That was so weird, right?
It was weird.
I didn't know that.
When you lit up like that, I was like, did I say the wrong thing?
No.
That's
the
very intriguing.
Thing.
Yeah,
because
it's about that empathy.
Exactly, and it comes from seeking external validation. Yeah. Because when you are seeking external validation, because when you come with empathy, you're coming to offer something.
Absolutely, every time.
Instead of saying that I need to get something. Yeah. Because when you're in the low spot, you're saying that I need to get something from because I don't have this number. And so
I don't have this status.
Right.
Yeah.
And so therefore you're going around and searching from everybody else is supposed to magically vote for you and tell you what you're worth today. So somebody comes by and they're like, you look great today. Oh, I look great. And then the next minute somebody's like, you suck. Yeah. And you're like,
and then
man, I suck. And then the next minute somebody's like, you're doing fantastic today. And you're like, I'm fantastic. And then the next one somebody's like, you eat dirt. And I'm like, I eat dirt all the time. So you're riding this whole wave all the time because your value is always dictated in question and it's dictated by everyone else around you. Instead of coming to the world and saying, I am worthy as I am, and I'm going to learn something today, and I may mess up, I may do great, but I'm going to bring whoever I am, however I am, to give to the situation, because when you come to get from the situation, everybody knows it. There was a guy named Mike that I sang with, and I could always tell that Mike was, this is just my perception, I could always tell that Mike, when he was getting up to sing, was getting up to receive something from the crowd.
Yeah,
I could tell it just like that, and I would cringe and shut down instantly when he got up to sing, because he got up to get something instead of to give something.
And if he didn't get, then what happened? How did the performance go?
It's dead. It's absolutely dead. It's like, like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because you get up, and every time we have a platform in life, and that doesn't. That if you have a platform, like you're a parent, if you have a platform that you're a teacher,
everyone has
if
a
you're
platform.
a singer,
you may think you don't, but everyone fucking has one.
Whenever you get, when God or the world hands you the mic and it's your turn to be on the platform, you have to be there to give.
Just give.
Because if you're there to receive, it is going to absolutely fail every single time.
Dude, that's
with relationships, with everything, and so that comes
life.
back.
That's all of life.
And with your self-worth, and that's what I'm talking about. The self-worth with the numbers and all this stuff. I'm talking about the ice skating, and you have to come to give to the situation whole,
that's so good.
As you are.
I love it.
And it goes back to like why the authenticity piece is missing in the church group that we grew up with. Yes, because everybody's trying to get to this place and this higher thing.
That's not even real.
It's this line. It's the prosperity gospel.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the prosperity gospel that you've got to get in the storyline. And you've got to get to the top.
Work your way up.
And if anyone gets in the way, that's the reason why we had. I'm going to just throw it out here.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we were okay with slavery and with stepping on other people and diminishing other people. And it's still happening.
And slavery still happens in our prison system. By
exactly.
The way.
You're exactly right. Yeah. So we're still okay with this because as long as we're progressing on this, like,
as long as we're getting more
train of blessings and stuff like this, the blessings culture, I call it. You're trying to get to the top of this magical pyramid of awesomeness. You're okay with stepping on anybody.
Hell yeah.
Because you are there to receive something rather than to give something.
God, that's so. I have never ever heard anyone put giving and receiving in those categories and define them as such, but that's such a beautiful principle. And
Yep.
and what I love is how it played out when you asked me the questions, and we haven't talked about this before.
No.
I don't even know who the guy was that you brought up. Like, all of that playing out and seeing how empathy can affect a situation, it can affect your life.
Right.
It's crazy. There's I don't know if you listen to Chainsmokers at all. One of their newest songs is called Sick Boy, and in the song, there's a line that says, "How many likes is my life worth?"
Yeah.
And really, that's all you need to need to listen to the song, but you need to look at the lyrics,
right?
Because it's super telling as far as. And I'm not saying that our culture is the only one like this, but it's very telling as to where our culture is now,
right?
And how we value things and how we define things. So, dude, I'm so like. This is, man, I hope so many people watch this. This is such good information, and it's helpful, you know? And I've had a similar thought process to what you've said before. Right. I'm not, like, trying to say, like, oh, well, I already thought of that. But just, like, the way you articulate it with the empathy and the giving and receiving. Right. Dude, that's every fucking person on the planet needs to hear that in their own tongue, in their own language. Like, everyone needs to understand. Because I like I said, I've had... There's like you have a thought and you're like, there's more that comes with this, but I don't have time to put in, but to hear you say all of that and be like, that fucking makes so much sense. Right. Dude, thank you for sharing that. That's super huge. Yeah. That's so big and it's helpful. It's helpful to me. This is something that I need to hear.
Absolutely.
So, we're gonna go back to the point where we started. So again, growing up in it, growing up in Christianity, growing up in the IFB, you had said, we had talked before, and you had said that you were, as a teenager, you were writing someone, another guy, and at that point...
I was writing.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
I think you said writing, I was like...
I wasn't, I mean, not a problem, but...
Where's that video?
I'm sure we can make something on the internet. But writing... As in
emails.
Yes, as in the emails.
As in the email.
The emails. So you were writing another young man, and so this podcast is just gonna. It was great, and now we're just going like
soaring.
This.
We're gonna have Ron Hamilton on here. God gives wings as beagles. They got some big ass ears.
They do.
Just kidding.
It's definitely Eagles.
Yeah.
Either way. Either way.
Right.
So, growing up inside that construct.
Right.
And not being able to be who you were.
Right.
Having to, again, deal with it however you dealt with it. Can you just... I don't know who all is going to see this, but I want people that are seeing this to understand two things.
Yeah.
Whether... to understand it from two perspectives. To understand it from... the perspective of you having to go through it and then deal with it how you dealt with it, but also understanding the perspective of those that could have shown empathy and could have not treated you the way that you were treated. Right. You know, what was it like for you? Explain that from the inside out. Like, what was it like for you having to, again, deal with how you felt and the fact that it was wrong, but somehow make it non-existent? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I'm giving you all hard questions.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I remember I remember in like kindergarten that I thought this kid named Chase was absolutely beautiful, like gorgeous person, and like I never really thought anything about it. You know what I mean? Like it was just
Your kindergarten. That's not.
Like,
yeah.
cool.
There's
like,
not a. There's not a thought beyond that.
The words in your mind just aren't there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true.
Right.
Again, there's not a thought beyond, that's a very beautiful person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Cool. That's there's a lot of beautiful people in the world, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, when I was like 12, 13, 14, I started, your body's going through these changes and stuff like this.
Yeah.
When I was...
Puberty happens.
Oh my God. I remember sitting in algebra class and I would just black out. And Mrs. Munoz was teaching algebra and I would just be like, I would get hard or whatever and I would just be toast for the whole class because I don't know, like it just wasn't there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a crazy time.
It was black
Absolutely.
out. So. But, I don't know really that I was acknowledging at that time being gay, but I would like go through like muscle magazines that I would get at the library, and I would cut out Arnold Schwarzenegger and other bodybuilders and stuff like that.
But that's
and
not...
put them in my Bible and take them to
Really?
church. Not kidding you. And then one of the girls in my class,
awesome, dude.
One of the girls in my class saw got my Bible that had all of this,
all your Arnies in there.
all these all my Arnies. That's what we're gonna call it.
All the
Arnies. And
I love it, dude.
And she was like, "Oh my God, John's gay," and all this stuff. She was saying to my sister. That's what my sister told me that she said.
Right.
But it was just so funny though, because like the things I was doing, because we didn't really have like a discussion of like what is sex and what's sex with a girl and stuff like that. It was never really talked about. Like,
that's the thing that's frustrating about, and I don't say I would use the term Christianity, but I use it lightly. Like what we grew up in wasn't mainstream Christianity at all. But like it's so taboo that like when you come out of childhood, you're woefully unprepared. Like you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
Because your parents love them to death, but they don't know how are they going to talk to you? Like the pastor won't even talk to you about it, and if he does, he's a super creep like Jack Scott. You're not going to get a normal, decent. You don't. Sex ed is just the devil. Right. And so, how are your parents supposed to even do sex? They can't approach sex ed. Right. Like I remember having some kind of conversation with my parents, but it was. I love my parents, but it was not helpful. Right. It just wasn't, because they didn't know what to say. What are they allowed to say? Right. Anyways, I'm sorry. They
didn't want to get like too deep into it. They're like, you have a penis, and like
it gets hard, and then
a vagina, and like,
and then that really that's it. That's it.
Let's pray and eat some eggs. You know, like, okay, great.
We gotta go to church later.
I know. There's some birds and the bees out there. Watch out, dude. It's gonna be great. You know.
God bless.
You know, like it's like. I understand as parents it's like difficult to talk to your kids about certain things.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'll tell you that right now.
I feel you, but like,
it has to
at
happen.
some point you just need to put a thing on your schedule and be like, hey, you know what? When Bobby turns 13, it's time, or whatever day you want to choose, mom and dad. Like if you want to make it when they're 8, whatever. I mean, if you want to make it when they're 15, 16, 17, whatever.
The way the world's going is going to be 5 pretty soon.
Oh my God.
No, it's terrible. It's true.
It was like growing up and is. I don't know. Well, the first time I actually messed around with a guy was when I was 16. And I was working at McDonald's, and a guy asked me for my phone number. And by the way, when I was 16, I looked like I was 12. So,
shit.
I looked really young. I've always looked young. Like, people still tell me I look young. So, but,
when I watch this back, you're going to look younger than me.
Oh, man. Hot damn. Thank you, Jesus. You know,
Jesus.
Right? So, but this guy wanted to give me a ride home. I should have done it because it was freaking crazy. How stupid was I? I mean, I could have ended up in somebody's freaking basement for 18 years. You know what I mean?
Or the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like a man of vines in Cleveland, like coming out of the fucking basement. You know what I mean? Crazy shit.
Not fun.
Yeah. So. This guy took me out and he like gave me a BJ, whatever that is, kids.
Beep. Explicit podcast. Exactly. It's all good.
So,
nice.
So, but then he came and sat by me in church, like on the same night.
What a
on
trip.
Sunday, right? So, and he had all these earrings in his ear. I was like, oh, I invited this guy to church, blah, 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 blah. He came and sat with me. It was so weird. What's that?
You did invite him to church?
Yeah, he came to church with me. He came and sat right next to me in church. And
I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean. That just sounds like...
It was so weird,
super
right?
awkward, right?
And I think he was like 26 or 28 or something like this. And I was 16 at the time. So it was so weird. So I like a week later, like he wanted to hang out again. I was like, I cannot do this right now. Because like he wanted to call me and talk to me, and it was like the only number. This is before cell phones. And,
right.
He wanted to call and like talk my house number. I was like, that's not fun.
Bro, no.
Hell no.
Never.
You know what I mean? I mean, my mom flipped her shit when the Blockbuster Video guy called from jail and wanted to get bailed out, you know, of jail one time or whatever. So it was just like, he was like, oh, geez, like, you're definitely not calling my house.
No,
my mom was very aware.
She
you know
won't lose it.
Yeah, exactly. She won't flip your lid.
That's
I stopped talking to him, but I felt so dirty after that. And I just really, and me and my brother, like, over the course of 2 weeks, touched each other's penises when I was like 14 and he was like 12 or something like that. My parents flipped their shit on me. Yeah. And which that's what they decided to do at the time.
Yeah.
I had to wear a belt in the house the whole time. I could not wear shorts. I had
Jesus Christ,
I had to wear pants at all times. I mean, like, just the way I was treated was just so weird because, like, and even when as I came into adult, my brothers and sisters were apologizing to me.
Wow.
For like how I was treated, because my brothers and sisters didn't get treated the same
They
way
didn't get that
because
treatment
they weren't gay. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, and I just think that, like, my parents weren't equipped at the time to handle whatever this was,
sure
especially with the information they were being fed from James Dobson.
Oh my God!
And from
you're an abomination.
Yeah, and from
again, I don't mean that literally at all. I'm just saying, like, that's
what they're thinking.
That's what you get,
right?
Yeah.
And so you're having to deal with this kid, and it's embarrassing, and it's tough. And can you imagine that the world that they were put in when they find out they have a kid?
You don't fit.
It doesn't
There's
fit in
not
the hole, you know, exactly.
Not literally at all.
Right.
But in their minds, there's just not a place that you go. Like, well, you know, she had an abortion, okay, whatever. Like, she got pregnant, okay, whatever.
Right.
We'll deal with that. We'll send her to a home.
Right.
She got an abortion. Well, she needs a lot of counseling with a pastor and one-on-one and whatnot. But you're gay?
Right.
No, you can't be gay. No, I'm really gay.
Right.
Okay.
No, you're not.
Yeah, no, you're not, or bi.
Right,
it's
right.
one or the other, like
But
not
way,
bisexual.
Yeah.
Bi, like, leave.
Like, goodbye.
Yeah,
Right,
see
right,
you later,
right.
because like you don't fit.
Right.
Like you said at the very beginning, our narrative. You don't
Right.
fit it, so you gotta go.
Right, and that's exactly because you don't fit in the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you bust out of that, when the storyline breaks at any point,
Yeah.
it just people just flip the hell out, because what you're supposed to say to yourself when you come into your story and your story breaks in a place and you're hurt, you're broken, you're not in control, you don't look like you're in control, or you are in control and you made a mistake,
Right.
and you feel bad about it, you have to tell yourself that my value is not up for a vote. You have to instantly
that's
tell
so
yourself
good. Yes.
that my
Yes.
worth is not in question right now. Like, literally, I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and I said the wrong answer to a question. The leader of that was speaking, like, made fun of me for what I had said. I was embarrassed about it because I just said something off the cuff, and it was a totally wrong answer.
Way wrong.
So, which is fine.
Yeah.
I made a mistake, but I just stopped myself in the middle of that, say my value is not in question, my value is not in question, my value is not in question. I was able to handle that instantly because I knew that my value wasn't in question, because the external circumstances weren't going to determine who I am and how I react in the world.
Dude, that's so good.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
So I didn't have to get pissed off. I didn't yell back at him.
Yep.
I didn't have to turn red and get all embarrassed and stuff like that. I might have been red. I don't know. I didn't see my face, but I just stopped myself and said inside of myself, my value is not in question. My value is not in question. My value is not in question.
Dude, I think
instantly was able to control my response.
That's so important. Like, I've dealt with things recently where I've had that kind of, like, that moment of, you know, like, I've talked to my therapist. God, I love therapy. I've talked to my therapist about this a lot, just like how finding my value in me, and because, again, the way we were raised and the way a lot of people that are going to watch this were raised is you find your value in your servitude to Christ. You find your value in your loyalty to Christ or to your family. And again, if you have a religion that you like and it's not bringing harm to anyone else, do that shit. Like that, good for you. I'm thrilled for you. I'm just saying, when you get so wrapped up in your service to a God or the God, however you want to phrase it, that's where you define your value.
Right.
Again, I'm drawing this in a religious direction.
That's fine, yeah.
But whether it's that or something else, like your performance at work or your, your relationships, whatever it is, when you're finding when your value is defined outside of you, it doesn't even make, like, when you're saying it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But when you think of it from the abstract point and just say your value is defined by anything other than you, well, how does it make sense?
Right.
You're you.
Right.
How is something else coming in to define you?
Exactly.
That's nutty.
It's nuts,
but we
for
do
everyone else.
Every day.
Yes.
Everyone does it every day. And I'm not trying to be a dick here, but I'm just saying, like, even you sound like you're in incredible control of that. But I'm sure that you have moments where that doesn't work out how you want.
No, not at all.
But what was that phrase you repeated to yourself? I love that, and I want to get that.
Yeah. I used to tell myself that my value is not in question.
My value's not.
My value's not for a vote. You know, like
my value. What did you say? No, in that meeting, you said the wrong answer, and he said he made fun of you, and you said my value's not defined or something like that.
My value's not.
I got you.
But again, my value's not for a vote, or my value's not in question. You know, like it's regardless. Of
something my therapist has taught me is that repetitive thinking. We do negative repetitive thinking 100% naturally.
Right.
Because we've dealt with so many negative things as we grew up in the workforce, whatever it may be. So we're trained. We unintentionally train our minds to think in a pessimistic way. And I'm not going to get into optimism, pessimism, but we train our brains because we've encountered so many things, relationships, work, whatever it is, where something negative goes down, and we feel like, okay, it's all going to be negative. Well, it's not all going to be negative. And you can determine the outcome, and you can make positive.
You can make better choices.
Exactly, you make better, absolutely. And so that's just something that I like, that whole idea of retraining your brain. And it takes time. That's something I've had to learn the hard way. It's not something that, overnight is like, oh, now everything's good, my brain's retrained. It's more of, you've trained your brain the wrong way, the negative way for years. It's not going to happen in a month or two. Like, you've got a lot of work to do, and you've got to be persistent and consistent. You've got to be consistent with that retraining. So I love that so much. Just finding, even in those situations, just, I don't care if you feel like you're a fucking crazy person, because my therapist has told me, like, look, you just sit there and repeat this shit. I'm like, why is my therapist telling me to talk to myself and repeat the same phrase? It doesn't make any sense. But then when I did it, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Because God put us here so that way we could learn to love the person that we got assigned to,
which is us,
which is the person inside of us.
That's the
skin. And that's why everyone loves the fuck out of what Jesus said, because he said, love God and then love your neighbor as yourself. And everyone's like, Jesus, others you, Jesus, others you. And I'm like, that's not what he said. He said, love other people as you love yourself. And if you do not, for neighbor, and this is where I got that from, to the level that you love yourself is the level that you will love other people. And if you do not love yourself, you will not love other people.
And that's, wow, don't you think that's, and again, we're going to solve the world's problems right now, right?
We're doing it. Okay.
But I'm just saying, like, don't you think that's, again, everything that you're saying, God, you need to fly out here more often. But everything that you're saying speaks to so many just bigger things. But I think what's so awesome is that these bigger things are all started as smaller things. And these bigger things are all represented in each and every one of us. These big problems we have, these mass shootings that take place, these acts of terrorism, all these terrible things, these aren't people that love themselves. No. They don't love themselves. Like, there's just no fucking way. Why would you do that to someone else? If you love yourself. God, that's so, I don't know. That's we're getting into all kinds of different places, but I'm loving it. It's so important to understand that self-love, it starts. That's where it starts.
Exactly. And it also starts, like, let me go one step above that, is understanding that God's love. And, like, a lot of people don't, like, that may be taboo for some people, but, like, let's just step there for a moment. That what is love? And we have to understand what love is in order to be able to give love to other people.
Absolutely.
Because if God actually, like, there's always a statement, you've always seen all the little signs that God is love. Cool, what the hell does that mean?
I need more information.
Right, exactly. But if God, love, let's just talk about this. Let's just discuss this for just a second.
Let's do it.
If is love come from the giver to the receiver? Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm God for right now, okay? Right. And I give you love. Right. So if I give love out, does it require something of you, or is the fact that I loved for me and what in my mind, is it just the fact that I tried to love you, regardless of what you do? Is that the point of love?
I think yes, because I think if not, then it's conditional.
Exactly right. Yeah. So you're on the right track. So when we want to say that we have to do all of this stuff in order to receive God's blessing or that God's love is going to be affected our relationship, or God, we don't have a good relationship with God right now, or I need to come back, or I backslid. Yep. God's love was with you all along. It never left, ever.
Again, because if it's truly
if it is love,
unconditional,
then that's what love is. It doesn't have conditions on it. It doesn't have conditions upon the receiver. It is something that is coming from the giver. Yep. So if God does love you, if you actually believe that God loves you, then please, for the sake of the planet, just accept and believe that if that's what you actually believe, and understand that you have an unlimited resource of love. And so therefore you don't have to go through your life thinking like, oh, I'm in lack all the time because I don't have enough.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking for love.
Yeah, and I sinned, therefore, until, and every religion has this different construct. But and again, I'm not throwing God out here. I'm just saying, like, you sinned, therefore you need to, what's the word? You need to go to confession. Or you need to kneel down next to your bed and pray. Or you need to take time while you're driving and confess your sins to God. Whatever it is, and I'm not saying, right and wrong don't have it.
That's fine.
Yeah, or that right and wrong don't have their places. We have laws, we have prisons for a reason. Cool. But if you're living in that constant state of like, oh, I fucked up again, God's pissed at me. Well, that's conditional.
Exactly.
Now you've found your way back into a conditional love.
Right.
And that's absolute bullshit.
Right. Exactly. And that's
whether it's God or God or relationships, like. And I understand. Look, I get it. Like, I'm a divorced person. I'm divorced for a reason. Okay? Like, there are relationships that don't work out for a reason. We're human, and that's fine. But if you really love someone, it's far more difficult to put a shitload of conditions on that love.
Right.
At the same time, I think as humans, there are some things you got to put out there. Like, if someone is just running you over, or someone is just not taking care of you, then at some point you have to say, okay, I can take care of me only so far. I'm in a relationship with you, and now I'm getting into way different areas now.
That's fine, that's fine.
I just want to make that distinction that there are times as a human when you'll interact with another human in a relationship and understand suddenly, or maybe over time, this relationship is not healthy, and it's not bringing me to the place I want to be, so bye-bye. I'm just trying to make that distinction. But again, when it comes to God, that love, if it's truly unconditional, which I don't see why it wouldn't be, then why are we walking around in constant fear that we fucked up, that he's angry at us? I was raised to believe that God is extremely angry.
Oh, he's
what is the I think it's a New Testament phrase, angry with the wicked every day? I know it's a Bible phrase that God is angry with the wicked every day.
Okay, but the wicked is like every person, because the thing is we want to make like this construct that like that other people are wicked, but we're not wicked. And
right.
Stuff like
well,
that.
no,
like,
we could never.
Like it's like JS getting up and be like, like, oh hey, all these like wicked people, all these politicians are doing all this stuff that's bad and all this stuff. Meanwhile, he's out like
banging teenagers,
tucking it in the woods. You know what I mean? So it's like come on. Like the thing is like when we start acting like and calling people as less than, or these people are baboons, or these people are terrible, or these people are less than human, or like during World War II when they're saying they were Judah, or however they would say it.
Juden.
What's that?
Juden, I think, was the German word for Jews.
Like, when you start demeaning other people and stuff like that, which is exactly what you're doing when you're saying there's this like wicked crew out there.
Right.
You walk down the same freaking path that the Nazis were fucking walking down. And when we say Nazis, most people are like freaked the fuck out in their mind about
they lose it.
That they lose their shit. But the thing is that all those people were good Christian people. Yeah. They were going to church every freaking week. They were following all the teachings of Martin Luther, that one great guy, and they were doing all this good stuff. But meanwhile, they had put this construct of there's like these other people with this other name that are causing my problems, and I'm on my way to my blessings trajectory, and all these Jewish people were getting in the way. So therefore, I can do whatever needs to be done. Final solution to make it so I can get to my blessings culture. And that's exactly the same thing that is happening in so many church organizations
So true.
that were so busy marching onto the gold bars of wonder that we are literally putting families and other people in concentration camps and saying, please go die because we cannot handle the fact that you exist.
You're fucking up my narrative.
Exactly. This story cannot happen with you in it. And so we need you out of the way so that way we can get to the gold bars of blessing. Honestly, that is exactly what's going on. It's the same exact thing.
I think it sums it up really well. This story cannot happen with you in it. Like, it doesn't work. This isn't working for me.
Exactly.
You have to go.
Right.
So I think the one thing I wanted to talk about, God, we've covered so much fucking good shit. Oh my God. But so this is something that I can't speak to, so I'm going to kind of try to interview you a little bit.
Yeah.
Finding, and again, now I'm looking at how I wrote it down, and I don't like how it sounds.
All right.
But finding your place with God as a gay man, to me, is, again, because because I'm not gay and because of the way I was raised, I have trouble comprehending. Well, I shouldn't say I have trouble comprehending. I should say a lot of people that are still involved in the IFB have trouble comprehending.
Right.
For me, I don't worry about comprehending it because it's not a problem.
Right.
And I don't see why it ever fucking should be.
Right.
But a lot of people have a difficulty comprehending how God would be okay with you being gay.
Right.
And again, and I'm not trying to say, I'm this great guy. Right. But like, because of how far removed I am from religion and definitely from God as well, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, that's you, this is me.
Right.
See ya. It's cool. It's whatever. You know, like it's not a differentiating factor anymore. It's you're a human. I'm a human. End of story.
Right.
There's not a construct or religion or a God in there to kind of mix things up for me.
Right.
So, but for people that do have that, and it'll be beneficial for me to hear as well.
Right.
Where, how do you come to the place of, there's not even that there needs to be reconciliation with God, but coming from the background that you come from, how do you come to the place of, hey, me and God are cool? Right. Not that it ever should not be that way.
Right. So first of all, I want to start with that let's start with the Bible, okay?
Hell yeah.
Because we have to start with it, because that's the origination of most of these, of the belief systems that we have in most churches.
Yep.
The Bible is said that it's a testament and inspired by God, and it's this testimony of these men about how they felt and experienced God in their time.
That is very well summed up.
Yes.
No, that's extremely accurate.
So that's what the Bible is.
Yeah. Which also means it's dated. Which
means that it's how people experienced God, and that was their perception of how God responded to them in their life. Personally. And then we want to go and say that that's how God is going to respond in every situation, which is crazy.
Would you say people take it far too literally sometimes?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're saying that God, let's look at the earth and the creation that is here, and how many different kinds of insects there are, and how many kinds of birds, and how many different kinds of freaking just cows there are. I mean, how many cows there are on the Chick-fil-A commercials? I mean, come on, guys. I mean,
get it together.
Yeah, get it together. But how many different ways that God's created all of the things that are here, and then we expect that God's only going to react to humans in the 15 different ways, or the 66 different ways in the books of the Bible. Let's say that God's only going to react to everybody in 66 different ways. Well, there's 66 freaking different kinds of cockroaches, and that's just like one kind of insect, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't even know. There could be a million different kinds of cockroaches. I don't know. I'm just saying
65.
That there could be 65. There's only 65.
Maybe.
But I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of different kinds of cockroaches.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So the thing is that we are expecting that God's going to come to us in only these ways that were mentioned in the Bible, that God appeared to these people, and God, and we expect that. But the thing is, like, what, in my opinion, is that just as inspired as Moses was to write down whatever he wrote, that you are inspired today, that God inspires us still, and that when somebody writes a great book, if somebody writes a good, or writes a beautiful piece of music, Or because like David wrote about Zadok the priest and how all the stuff that he did was so amazing, and I'm sure some of the Psalms are by Zadok the priest.
Right.
And how many pieces of art that were done were absolutely beautiful and amazing, and that those are God's inspiration in our life still lives on today. It's not just something that these 66 guys had or whoever it was that wrote the Bible. You know,
my interpretation of that is people make it the Bible itself or Christ's teachings make them extremely limited.
Right.
To be fair, I do believe Jesus was a real person. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
And I do believe there's a lot of fucking amazing teachings from him.
Right.
But to say, again, this is it. That's the end. Like, you read the Bible, and that's it. And that's all you get.
Right.
That was 2,000 years ago. Like, things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
A lot that was black and white then, it's not black and white now.
Right.
In 2,000 years, or shit, 100 years, a lot of shit that seems black and white now is not. There's a Tesla floating around in space.
Right.
Again, maybe there's not. I know there's a lot of naysayers, but I'm just saying, like, 10 years ago, did you think there'd be a car doing this in space?
Yeah, right.
No. You know, whether there is or not, you didn't think there would be one,
Right.
and now you think there might be.
Right.
So, again, I'm taking a way different direction, as I always do, but what I'm trying to say is that I feel like where you're coming from is there's a multitude of perspectives here, and there's a lot of updates that have happened to humanity in the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, and we're going through a lot of at the core of it, humanity is the same in a way, but we just have new technology.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that we interact with people in slightly different ways than we did before.
Yep.
But the thing that it goes back to though is that when we're talking about what again? Sorry.
I know this guy's had a long ass fucking day.
Fine.
But again, I think you've made your point. Like, it's perfect. What you said is absolutely perfect, and it's that we're talking about how you find your place with God as a gay man, which again doesn't define you, but so many people seek to make it define you. So I want to talk to those people and the people that may be in the closet still, or that may be, be afraid to speak out and say who they really are, just to say, hey, it's not, this isn't, gay doesn't equal abomination. And that is the thing that bugs the hell out of me so much.
Right, because also let's talk about that. Like, and even in the Bible where gay is being talked about as being an abomination, it's always mentioned with idol worship. And the thing is that you liking or thinking about putting some piece of your skin in somebody else or wanting a piece of skin in you is not anywhere around the realm of idol worship. You're not cutting your freaking body open and like sacrificing babies and burning children in an idol. So I mean, there's and we could say like, oh, a Ford car can be your idol and all this stuff. Like, come on, who is bowing down to the Ford car? Really?
Nobody.
Like, we're talking about like, this stuff was like crazy weird shit. And it was like people it was like people selling their bodies in an idol temple as act of worship to an idol, which is just freaking crazy. And two people like caring about each other, loving each other is very, very different than selling your body in a temple in service to a god. Like, and acting like that's like some type of worship, like, which is just nuts.
That's bullshit.
So the thing is that this is how the people felt about God in their time. And also if God is omnipotent and the creator of all, then I think that I would give God the opportunity, and this is what faith is giving the opportunity that there's a possibility that what I'm saying and doing could be wrong, and that's what faith is.
It's good.
And so if that is the case, is it also the possibility that God could save those who have never heard about Christ? I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Like, and so I give it the possibility that there could be people in this world who will go to heaven that may have never heard about Christ, but have the desire in their heart to want to know the Creator, whoever that is.
Yes, and
I
think for me, like, again, we keep ending up in bigger picture, which I fucking love. No, that's awesome. I think for me, I've said this before, I'm in a weird place when it comes to Jesus, when it comes to God. Some days I believe, some days I don't. I'm not really sure. But I like that version of God.
Right.
It's just so much bigger than this confined entity that we grew up on and that we preached, for
Right.
lack of a better word,
Right.
for years, just like saying God is just defined in these few chapters of this small book.
Right.
Not small book, it's a big book, but like God is just defined here in this book, and that's it.
Right.
That's all you get.
Right.
Now we have our interpretations of him, but they
Right.
all come from that book.
Right.
Whether the verse is taken out of context or not. So I love the idea of God being so much bigger than just this book or just this time period in history. That's
Right.
fucking amazing.
And when it comes down to it, when Jesus said that, like I said before, like when Jesus said that you need to love God and love your neighbor as
Yes.
yourself, like that sums up. Like they're asking, like, what are all the laws we should know? What are the things that we should do?
Exactly.
How are we supposed to?
Yeah,
How are we supposed
that
to
was
do
the
all this?
question.
Right.
Yeah, that was his
Is
response.
Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Because first of all, what does that even mean that we're supposed to love God? Like honestly, there's not really a great interpretation because
Well, it's hard to define.
there's not really a whole lot of things that God says that you're supposed to do in order to love Him. Like,
Yeah.
because of the fact that the Bible was written by people and that they were writing how they saw and how they experienced God in
their
their time.
interpretation.
So that's their interpretation. So God doesn't really come to you and say, hey, here's the 5X things that you're supposed to do.
Which is what we were taught all our
Right,
lives.
exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the 5 things that
Do
you're
these
supposed to
5
do in
things.
order to love
Absolutely.
God. And God's never physically come to any of us here in the last, like,
Ever?
and even at that, like, even if, like, Joseph Smith thought that God came and
Yeah,
talked
he was
to
pretty
him.
sure.
Was it didn't he do the
He did the tablets.
see the tablets? Is he
Yeah.
Mormon, right?
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
I mean, here's a guy in freaking Utah, and God came and talked to him.
I think it was New York was where God talked.
Oh, was it God talked to him?
They ended up in
But
Utah,
then
but
they
I
were
think it was
like,
in New York.
the tablets just made it across the prairie
Yeah.
on the Oregon Trail, and then they didn't get dysentery.
They were made of gold. I think
they were,
actually. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, let's go pants down.
Fuck yeah.
It's just like, other people have said that they've experienced God, and if we wrote, and there was even some little kid that said he went to heaven a couple of years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
And wrote
That
a
was a
whole
big
book
thing.
about
Yeah,
it or
5
whatever.
minutes in heaven, I think it is. Yeah.
29 minutes in heaven, and it's actually a Ronco food dehydrator, and you're like,
Well, shit.
oh my God, there's fruit roll-ups in here. Yay! You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, but that's somebody's experience, and that's what they wrote
Yep.
down. And
Yeah.
the thing is, like, we still love the shit out of
yeah,
that.
eat
You
it
know,
up.
like, that's a huge #1 seller. Make a movie out of it and all
They
that.
did. It was
Because
nuts.
people having these, like, supernatural experiences, and it's so funny.
Well, I think
that
we all
that's what
wanna
we
know.
love in the Bible. Is like, we
Yes.
love, like,
Yeah.
why do we pick these particular stories and say these are the ones that we choose that are going to go in the
These are
English
the
translation
big
of the
ones,
Bible?
yeah.
Because they're so magical. It's like, how could it not possibly be, or we want that to be so?
I think part of the intrigue there is the fact that, again, everyone has different ideas, and I understand that. And to an extent, I respect that. But the one, like, we're getting into space. We've
Right.
been into the deep ocean. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of places that we've explored. The afterlife, we don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So when someone comes out and says, "Oh shit, I know about the afterlife,"
Right.
or I met a dude that like runs that place.
Right.
Oh, we want to fucking know. Like,
Right,
and
right.
I love that. I like
Yeah.
watching shit like Fringe and like Bump in the Night kind of shit. Like, that's
Yeah.
very intriguing to me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the movie, Constantine with Keanu Reeves, where
Right.
I think he goes to hell for a few minutes. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's super intriguing to me. He fights
Right.
demons and sends them back to hell. I love that shit. Why?
Right.
Because it's it is as unknown as you can get
Right.
for us as human beings.
Right, right.
And so getting into that space,
Right.
we're always going to love.
Right.
You need to go to sleep.
I'm fine.
I know. But I do, the one thing I kind of want to wrap up and talk about, I want to see if there's anything as far as, is there a resource for those, the smoke is still, it's still smoky.
Oh my God.
Is there a resource for people who are Christian, who
Yeah.
believe in God,
Right.
and are gay,
Right.
and I feel, again, I always feel bad saying it that way,
Right.
but there's just so many
Right.
believers that just can't handle people being gay.
Right.
So is there a group of believers? Is there
Yeah.
some place where people can go and say, hey,
Right.
I believe in God and I feel accepted by this group of people?
Right. There's a really good group called the Q Christian Fellowship.
Okay.
It's called Q, just the letter Q.
Q.
Christian Fellowship.
Okay.
And if you could look that up on, I believe it's Q Christian If you can look it up on Google,
I'll link it up.
Fellowship.
I'll find a link for it.
QChristian.org, I think is what it is. But there's they usually have a conference every year in January, and I'm trying to remember where the next one is going to be. But but they have a good conference, and also it's really good for parents if you've got gay kids, or a gay kid in your community or in your church or whatever. It's really good. There's a Mama Bears group. They call them the Mama Bears.
Awesome.
I don't know if they were associating with bears because there's like a gay term, bears too.
Oh yeah,
but I think they were I think they were intending to be just like just Mama Bears taking care of their cubs and stuff like that. So
the first time
I heard about it, I was like,
okay.
But
I see the irony.
But they have a Mama Bears group, and it's really sweet. And but what's interesting is they're so, it's a good support group, but also like it's amazing how many kids that commit suicide every year and stuff like this from not having a support group and stuff like that. So if you can get involved, and there's some Facebook groups and stuff like that, some secret groups, and that you but if you get involved with the Q Christian Fellowship, there's some great resources for
They'll
you.
link you up with what you need.
Like I went to the conference this year. It was in Denver. It was fantastic.
That's terrific.
So many great people there. And also there's different age group brackets for guys and girls that they can go to and kind of associate with other gay Christians.
That's awesome.
In their age groups, they kind of have a clan or a group of people that they can kind of hang out with. And it's a really fabulous resource. So I definitely highly recommend.
Well, we'll link that up. I'll make sure in the YouTube video and on Facebook, I'll make sure that we put links to that.
Yeah, and a couple good books are read about that are also Torn by Justin Lee. It's about rescuing the gospel from the gays versus Christian debate.
Oh, wow.
Great book. Also, God and the Gay Christian by Matthew Vines. There's also the Reformation Project that Matthew Vines hosts, and that's talking about, he delves real deep into
kind of like some
biblical study and stuff like that. He actually has a conference too.
Oh, okay.
It's called the Reformation. I think the Reformation Project. You can look it up on online on Google and stuff like that. But there's some really great tools and resources out there nowadays for Christians or people who are gay or thinking about it. There's even like they'll call it mixed orientation marriages. They call them the mom group.
Okay. I love that it's always moms.
Yeah, right?
That's awesome.
The mixed orientation marriage where someone gay is married to a straight person and they've got kids and a family, and to have a support group for that. There's other people that know what you're going through.
Wow,
and
that
so
would be terrific.
You can find that. There's also trans groups, and that's why the Q Christian Fellowship was called the Gay Christian Network before, but there was so many trans people, and there's so many queer people, and there's so many people that describe themselves as intersex and questioning, and there's so many different letters and all that stuff that they just and bi and all that stuff, but they've combined it into this Q Christian Fellowship, kind of like to kind of cover the whole span and gamut of people. So
that's
definitely check it out.
Okay.
There's so many good resources.
So we got cut off really quick. Let me just bring it back. We're recording on my phone, and my phone actually ran out of storage right now. So there's that. Good times. I'm gonna have to go through and clean some shit up. But John was just kind of going through some resources. Did you have more to add to that? Was that?
I'm just wrapping up definitely go to the website and get involved, and there's like forums and stuff like that, and there's a lot of different Facebook groups, and if you want to hit me up on Facebook or whatever, then hit me up on Facebook, and I can try to get you in touch with. But if you're in it, but what I was saying is like going back to Indiana sometimes, I'll go in there and I see kids that that are still like younger and like still living with their parents and stuff like that. But I can tell that they're gay. I know they're gay. It's written all over their faces. Yeah. And there's even kids I know that have like tried to hit me up on like it's on like Facebook chat and stuff like this. That like I feel so bad for them because like they just don't have access to the resources to know that like if you're like God loves you exactly how you are.
I love that.
However it is. If this is what I always say, like if God can love Moses, who was a murderer, if God can love David, who was a murderer, David killed so many in an adulterer. He put the other dude's wife on the front lines, and had the guy freaking killed. I mean, it was like Game of Thrones shit.
It really was.
Like if God can love Joshua, who killed people and murdered people, like, by the thousands, like God even, like, loved Cain, the guy that killed his own damn brother, and had him live. Paul killed people. Like, so many people in the Bible that were, like, total murders. If God can love these complete fucking assholes that are so fucking awesome, that your pastor gets up and, like, this guy, it would be like your pastor saying, like, guess what? I just went down to the state pen and I went to the death row part. And this guy wrote a letter in there, and we're going to read it in church today, and we're going to do exactly what he has to say. That's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what the Bible is. We're, like, these murderous guys, the guys that were really terrible, wrote a letter, and we're going to do what they had to say because they got their shit together. And then we're going to tell you that because you want to put a piece of your skin inside somebody else's skin, that therefore you shouldn't be here. Yeah. And you deserve to go to hell. And all this other stuff. And or like you did something that, or like you got together with this other girl and you made a baby.
Right. Oh my God.
That's the end of the world. Maybe God wanted that to happen. I don't know.
Did you ever think of that?
Yeah. Like I'm not condoning like non-consensual stuff, but I'm saying like if you got together with a consenting adult, or even if it's two consenting teenagers, they got together and they got pregnant in the back of a car. God still freaking loves you, and it's going to be okay. Yeah, you're gonna be just fine.
Yes, and I love that. And I don't talk about God a lot on here, but I'm really grateful for you coming on and saying what you're saying. That's fucking awesome. Right. God and for those, I love the perspective, because to me that says, well, if God loves you, then why would anyone else not love you? Right. Again, in that construct of religion or Christianity or just belief in God. Right. If God can still love you, then why is there anyone else on the planet who should look at you and say...
That can't handle and do the same thing that God does? Hello?
It's not hard. It's not hard.
It's not that hard.
It's not difficult.
It's so easy. So, God loves you exactly how you are, and be whoever you're going to be. Love other people like yourself. Yes. Receive your value internally. Know who you are, and come to give in every situation.
Fuck yeah.
So that way, you can have a great life. I'm telling you, it just changes the perspective of your life if you'll come to give to the situations in your life.
I love it. I love it. So we're gonna close with that before I run out of more storage. Thank you so much, John, for being on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Super grateful. Absolutely.
We did it.
Fuck yeah, we did. And guys, thanks so much for coming along. As always, super glad to have you along on this ride with Not Your Mother's podcast. John will definitely be back on again. And look, I know you've heard me say a lot of things about my beliefs in God or lack thereof in the past. So this isn't me saying like, oh, I believe something different, or oh, I believe this. This is me having on a dear friend whose opinion and whose friendship I value. And this is us having a conversation. Yep. That's what I told John right before we started recording. I said, that's how I look at these. You're my friend, and I want to introduce you to these people, to these friends. And that's what this is all about. And so if you're looking at this saying, well, Stuart's flip-flopping on God. Like, no. I've already told you I flip-flop on God on a daily basis sometimes. But I love John's perspective and John's point of, this is how God actually feels, or how God really feels. It's not necessarily what you've been told or what this 2,000-year-old book dictates. It's God. If there's a God, and I'm not saying there's not, then there's a God today in 2018. Right. And there was a God back in the BCs, okay? There was a God back then too. And I'm not saying it can't be the same God, but to say that things haven't evolved and society hasn't changed and we're not different people, well, that's just ludicrous. Mm-hmm. And hey, evolve along with it, people. If you have a problem with someone who has, shall we call it an alternative lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, if you have a problem with someone, again, we've talked about internalizing things. If you have a problem with someone, that's your problem. It's not their problem. It's your problem. Anyways, let me get back to being nice. Again, thanks so much, you guys. I hope you enjoyed as much as we did, and we'll be back soon. Bye.
Peace.